As you step onto your mat, at about the middle, coming into child pose, facing off the short end of the mat, press your hips back over your heels. Use your hands in front in extended child pose to help you tuck in small. Feel free to take your knees wider if that's more comfortable. And when you find your low back is long, your hips are comfortable, then find where you can release your head, either resting it on the ground, or if it doesn't touch the ground, maybe stacking your hands or your fists under your head, or if you have a block or a pillow handy, use that. If your hands are not under your head, then you might want to wrap them back around by your feet. And as you settle down, as you bring yourself onto the mat, mentally, emotionally, energetically, as well as physically, notice where you are, how you are. Bring your attention into your breathing. If you've been practicing that ocean-sounding breath, see if you can find that here in this tucked-in, small posture. Can you feel the expansion of the breath into the back? In today's practice, we're going to become more aware of the movement of the spine, the flexibility along the length of the spine. We'll also create a little bit more space in the neck, in the calves and legs. This next time that you inhale, uncurl to come up to kneeling, bringing your arms out to the sides, up overhead, bring your palms together, draw them down along the midline of your body as you exhale, bringing your hands, your thumbs towards your sternum, reminding the sternum to lift up, to open space for the lungs. Now that you're upright and you don't have the front body closed off by the thighs, see if you can breathe a little bit more into your belly and your ribs and up into your collarbones. We'll tune in with the Adi mantra, Om Namo Gurudev Namo, finding your comfort level with that, either joining in with your voice or taking it in internally. If you're joining in, breathe in for the first of 3. Om Namo Gurudev Namo. As you inhale, take your hands out in front of you and bring yourself up onto hands and knees into table pose, where your knees are underneath your front hips and your wrists are underneath your broad shoulders. And your back is fairly neutral, so you're roughly making a tabletop with your back. Lift your wrists and your thumbs so that you're stretching from the tips of the fingers down through the lengths of the fingers. And if that's really intense, you're not able to lift your thumbs off the ground, then keep one hand on the ground and focus on the other one so you can determine the weight, the stretch. So once you have your fingers spread out wide from each other, so you have triangles of color between your fingers, and then stretch down long into the mat, when you bring your palms down, check that your wrists are under broad shoulders, so that when you slide your shoulders back onto your back, your arms, your upper arms, are alongside your upper ribs, and you can draw your upper chest forward a little bit. Then push the ground away with the base of your fingers, the fullness of your hands, and let your back arch up towards the sky. And as you find that curve through your back, cat pose, like a cat fluffing up its fur in front of a dog, hold that, but don't hold your breath. With your head dropped down, look underneath and see if you can see your belly tucking up into your low back. So you're fanning open your low back. And then look and see that your knees are under your front hips, so your thighs are parallel to each other, and that you can't see your feet, so your feet are right behind your knees. Then tuning into your breath, use your next inhale to lift your tail, roll up your spine until your head lifts. So now your front body is arching towards the ground. Pause there for a few breaths and notice where your shoulder blades are. So if they're up around your neck, slide them down and in as though they're two little hands trying to come down behind the heart. Drawing the upper chest forward between the upper arms. So rolling between those two, cow and cat poses with your breath. Exhale, push the ground away with the front of your feet, your shins, the base of your fingers. Let your back arch up, your belly tuck in, your head release. And then inhale, roll from your tailbone up to your head, slide your shoulder blades back, adding in that ocean sound. If you're still playing with finding that, just do the best you can. We'll spend more time in a little while going through that more deeply. Play with hearing your breath in your throat as you breathe in and out through your nose. Feel free to close your eyes here so that you can tune into the sensation, the sound of the breath, and the coordination of that sound with the movement of your spine. Initiating the movement from the tailbone and rolling up like a wave or a whip-like action up the spine until you get to the head. And this is something we do pretty much every single practice in one form or another, spinal flex. One of my teachers, Yogi Bhajan, says that you're only as old as your spine is inflexible. So moving your spine every day, finding more flexibility, creates greater health for the entire central nervous system, which extends out into the rest of the body. This next time that you inhale, bring yourself back to table, neutral position, so your back isn't arched in either direction. If you're feeling your wrists, lift them and stretch your fingers again where they connect to the palms. And then look over your right shoulder, and as you do, drop your shoulder back away from your chin. Create more space between your chin and your shoulder. See if you can see your right hip and swerve your right hip up towards your shoulder, towards you, so you shrink your right waist. Use your next inhale to come back to center. Long line from your head to your tail, and then exhale, shrink your left shoulder back. Drop your shoulder away from your chin and swerve your left hip up towards your shoulder, going back and forth between sides. Inhaling at center, exhaling as you squeeze along the side, bringing the hip and the shoulder towards each other. If you've ever done any Latin dance, it's that same action of tilting your hip up towards your shoulder. So notice if your hips are avoiding you, if they're going in the opposite direction. Bring your hip up like there's a little bungee cord between your hip and your shoulder, and it shrinks in on the exhale. So you can feel those ribs shrink in and the other side of ribs fan open. So we've just done, with cat and cow, the up and down movement of the spine. Now we're going side to side. The next time you're over on the left side, come back to center. Push the ground away with your hands and take your hips back over your heels, releasing back into extended child with your arms long in front. Letting your head release towards the ground. Might touch the ground, it might not. Use your hands in front, your arms extended long in front to push the ground away so that you help tuck your butt back over your heels. Then when you get yourself tucked in small, notice where your shoulders are, and if they're up around your neck, you might need to walk your hands back a little closer to you or take them a little wider so that you can push the ground away again with your hands. But this time, focus on broadening your shoulders back away from your neck. And then in that small compression, that little child tucked in posture, breathe. Breathe your belly open, and because your belly is resting on your thighs, feel how your low back opens. See if you can feel the breath dropping down towards the sacrum and the hips, and then also rising up into the ribs and the upper back. Push the ground away with your hands so that you uncurl to kneeling, letting your head come up last, breathing your way up. Inhale as you lift your head. If you have trouble with kneeling, you might want to sit on a block or pillow between your heels and your butt. Find where you can sit comfortably tall. If this is really challenging on your knees, find a different posture. Either sit cross-legged or even in a chair. And then take your arms out to the sides and reach towards the ground so that your fingertips, if they touch the ground, just touch lightly. You're not holding yourself up with your hands, but feeling that you touch evenly left to right. Then lift up through the back of your skull as though you're being drawn up. Might help to think of your head like a hot air balloon, and at the same time that the back of your skull is being drawn up, let your tailbone release just a little. So draw the belly in just slightly. Not tucking the tail under, but feeling a little more support in the low back. With your next exhale, so tune into your breath, and as you exhale, let your head release to the right, so your right ear drops towards your shoulder. And if that feels too intense, then right away you clench your jaw or shrug your shoulders up to protect from that intensity, then try turning your nose or your chin towards your shoulder instead, adjusting the angle so that you can breathe deeply, and playing again with that ocean sound. So see if you can start to hear the sound in the throat as you focus on the stretch in the neck. If this is enough of a stretch, simply breathe here, focusing on letting go more and more, letting the jaw, the tongue, the shoulders relax, but keeping the lift of the low spine, both sides of your waist even, so that your left shoulder hasn't followed you to the right. If you want to make it more intense, turn your palms up and tuck your elbows in a little bit, so that you look like Lady Justice with the scales. If that creates too much intensity, that you can't breathe into it, then go back to the place that you can. The next time that you exhale, release your chin down along your collarbones, and when you get to the center, bring your arms out in front, interlace your fingers with your palms facing each other, and stretch your arms forward. And at the same time, draw back with your lower spine, as though somebody has their arm around your waist and they're pulling you back. As you reach your arms forward and you allow your spine to curve back, your tail to tuck under, your head to release down between your arms, find your breath, or imagine your breath along your spine. Tucking your belly in so the breath then has to go into the back body. Hug your arms in towards your head and use your arms to help lift yourself back up. Lifting your arms up, helping your head come up, and as you lift upright and you reach your arms up overhead, grow taller. Take a breath in as though you're going to lift up off the ground, so you lighten the weight in your feet. Then tuck your belly in a little bit, lengthen your low back slightly as you release your arms out and reconnect your fingertips to the ground lightly, keeping the length and lift of your spine. Once your arms are stretched out, shoulders are broad, let your head release to the left, letting go of the weight of your head, either through your ear to your shoulder or your nose to your shoulder. Feel for where's the most breathable place. And then lift the breath up into the right side of your neck. So the breath, as we'll play with in a moment when we focus on just the breath has the capacity to open into most of the torso. So see if you can feel the breath in the neck, in that space between your right ear and your right shoulder. And listen for the breath just on the inside of that, in your throat. If you want to make this more intense, you can turn your palms up, tuck your elbows in. Just check that you can still breathe as steadily, as easily when you have your fingers off the ground as when you had them long. This next time that you exhale, release your head down along your collarbones. When you get to center, instead of interlacing your fingers in front, just bring your weight forward onto your knees and come back into table pose. So you're bringing your hands underneath your shoulders. You may want to take a quick stretch through your fingers if you tend to feel your wrists in this posture. Then keeping your shoulders on your back, keeping that space around your neck that you just created, curl your right toes under on the ground as you reach your right heel behind your toes and you find a stretch through your right calf, your lower leg. So if you're not feeling that in your lower leg, your calf, your heel is probably not reached back behind your toes with your toes curled under. Then feel a long line from your heel reaching back through your right leg, through your spine. So if your low back tends to sway, tuck your belly up a little bit. And then right out through your spine to your head. If you want to make this a little deeper, you can lift your left knee off the ground slightly and shift your weight up and back. Next time you exhale, switch. Releasing your right knee, plant the base of your fingers if you're taking all the weight in your wrists. Curl your left toes under, reach back through your left heel so you're getting a stretch through your calf. Find that long line from your heel, through your leg, through your spine, right out through your head. Jaw relaxed, shoulders broad. If you want to make it a little more intensive, you can lift your right knee and shift your hips back slightly, pushing the ground away with your hands. Feel for where is a good stretch through your lower left leg that's breathable. When it feels like you've balanced that with the right side, then release down onto your back with your head at the same end that it is right now. As you come onto your back, draw your knees in towards your belly and hold your shins or the backs of your thighs. Whatever you can reach easily without your shoulder blades coming out from underneath you. Once you get a good hold there, draw down. If you're able to interlace your fingers, that'll give you a good, strong grip. And as you draw down, reconnect your shoulder blades underneath you. If your chin's sticking up, tuck it down so that your neck is easy. With your next exhale, hug in a little bit more. Make yourself even smaller. Then keep your legs where they are. Take your arms above your head, and if your hands are not already interlaced, interlace them and turn them inside out. So you're reaching the heels of your hands up. If that doesn't work for your shoulders, separate your hands. And as you reach up through your elbows and your hands to open your shoulder joints, lengthen from your hips through your hands. Now stretch up through your legs, reaching the heels of your feet up towards the sky and drawing your toes down towards you, aligning your knees above your hips. So you're making a big L shape with your body. Inhale into this L shape, and then exhale and bring your hands to your legs and come back into your tucked shape, your ball shape. Then continue with your breath. So you inhale to lengthen up through your arms, through your legs, exhale to tuck back in. And listening for how the breath coordinates with the movement so that by the time you get to your fullest stretch through the backs of your legs and through your shoulders and arms, you've completely inhaled. And by the time you tuck all the way down small, you've emptied all of the air out. It's as though that tucking action is emptying the air. Looking at your feet, seeing that your toes are drawn down as you inhale so that you get a greater stretch through the backs of your legs. And this next time that you tuck in, release your legs out long onto the ground. You're going to come into stillness. If you tend to get cold, put a blanket over your body before you settle. Lengthen out through the heels of your feet. Reach them away from your head so you get lots of space in the backs of your legs. And then let your feet relax away from each other, finding where your ankles are about in line with your hips and shoulders so they're not together and they're not way out off the edges of the mat. And then, once you've adjusted your legs and released them, find where your low back is comfortable. So you might need to shift your bum down or out to the sides. If that doesn't release it, then you might be better off with this next part where we focus on breathing, to bend your knees and drop them into each other with your feet on the ground. Find where your low back is comfortable, where you can let your body rest, bringing your shoulder blades underneath, the back of the neck long within its curve. Then rest your hands on your belly, your low belly, so that your thumb is about level with your belly button. Tune into that lowest part of your belly. Notice when you relax, your breath may have already started to drop down into your belly. If it hasn't, then begin to focus your breath down there. We're playing now with that ocean-sounding breath, so the body is relaxed. It's the breath that's active. If you feel you can close your eyes, great, close your eyes. If not, soften your gaze and turn your attention inside, letting your jaw relax. And breathing down into your hand so that on the inhale, you feel your belly rise and fill your hand, and your hand lifts a little bit. And then on the exhale, you can feel your belly empty and the hand drop back down towards your spine, towards the floor. So with those two tools, your ears listening to the sound of the breath and your hand feeling the action of the breath, begin now to lengthen your breathing. You may also need to use your mind to stay focused on this. So if you find you're tired or your mind is busy, then count your breath. How long does it take for the belly to fill? And how long does it take for the belly to empty? Is that count the same? Inhale to exhale. If your breath is really short and shallow, play now with lengthening it, using that count not only to start to balance the inhale with the exhale so that the same count, but also to move the inhale and the exhale a little bit longer. So by narrowing the throat, you give yourself more time, breathing in and out through your nose as best you can. Think of those auditory cues that help you find the sound. Wind in a tunnel, the ocean in a shell, a gentle Darth Vader. Even though your hand is on your front body, see if you can sense, especially with the inhale, that the back and the sides of the low torso also expand. If the low back is an area of concern for you, then think of inhaling into it, creating more space between the vertebrae of your spine. Keeping this focus of breathing right down into this lowest part of your torso, into your belly and your low back. Now bring your hands up so that you have one palm on each set of ribs with your middle fingertips touching at the end of your exhale. So if you're a woman, you're just below your bra line, your palms flat on your ribs. You might have to walk your elbows a little bit wider. And when you exhale and you've emptied the body, find where your middle fingertips touch. Then when you inhale, allow the belly and the low back to expand and continue to expand and take breath in until your ribs expand, from the lowest ribs upwards, feeling potentially how your middle fingertips separate. Then when you exhale, release through your ribs, feeling how your hands get closer together again, and allow the belly to drop back down. So the belly in this breathing practice becomes the first to rise, to expand and receive the breath, and the last to release it, inhaling and filling all the way down into your belly, your low back, and up into your ribs, and exhaling and releasing from the ribs back down to the belly. So you're working with Ujjayi Pranayam, ocean-sounding, victorious breath, and we're using that to create Dirgha Pranayam, which is complete or three-part breath. So starting in the belly, low back, is the first part. Second part is into the ribs. Keeping this going, noticing not only the front of the ribs where your hands rest, but also the side ribs opening out towards your arms and your back ribs pressing into the ground. We're working with stretching open the breathing muscles, the diaphragm, the intercostal muscles between the ribs, the abdominal muscles. Starting to move your attention upwards from here. So still inhaling into the lowest part of the torso and building the breath up into the ribs. Coming now all the way up towards the collarbones. So you may want to bring your hand there onto your collarbones or your neck or shoulders to see if you can feel the lift of the inhale under those bony structures. And this is the third part. So as you inhale and fill into the lowest part of the torso, into the pelvic floor, belly, low back, and then into the low ribs, mid ribs, upper ribs, and then all the way up under the collarbones, neck, and under the shoulder blades. As you exhale, release from there, from the upper mantle, shoulders and neck, down through the ribs, down to the belly. And take a few more breaths here, either allowing your hands to remain where they are, or if you want to reconnect with your belly or bring a hand to the low back or bring your hand to some other area of the torso that helps you be with the breath, then do that. Finding your pace, listening and feeling with your hands that the inhale and the exhale are starting to match each other in terms of their length and their tonal quality in the throat. Somewhere in the next few breaths, allow your arms to release down by your sides, turning your palms up as you lengthen your arms. And as you stretch your fingers away from your head, feel how your shoulders slide underneath you. They become more a part of your back and less a part of your neck. Relax your hands, relax your arms. And if you're still consciously breathing Ujjayi and Dirgha Pranayams, then let those go. Next time you exhale, quit breathing and see what happens. Stay tuned into the breath even though you're not doing it. Dropping your attention down towards your belly where your breath tends to drop when you let it go. Dropping any doing in the body so the body is heavy and relaxed and the breath is soft and easy. You might notice your mind more in the stillness of the body and the breath. So if it becomes apparent to you that your mind is busy or not present, reconnect with your belly, as though you could gently, without strain, look down, eyes still closed, but taking your mind's eye down towards your belly, seeing your breath happening there, using your breath as a bridge between the mind and the body to bring you into the moment, letting go of everything else. The mind might be particularly persistent or active, so this posture requires a great deal of trust, trusting that there is nothing else for you to do right now. There is nothing else you need to do. You've already carved out this time for yourself. The practice is to be present. Bring your attention into your breath if you've lost track of that. Reconnecting with your breath in your belly, allow your body to stay as relaxed as it's become, and deepen your breathing. Feel the belly expand again. Let each breath in the next few breaths get a little bit bigger with the inhale, creating a little bit more space in the body. Letting go a little bit more fully on the exhale, so that you're drawing some energy, some prana into the body with each breath, that the body can then use to come out of stillness and back into some movement, but consciously. So somewhere in the next few breaths, as your breath deepens, expands, opens into the torso, take an easy stretch through your legs and through your arms, reaching your arms up overhead. And as you find a deeper breath and you extend the energy of the breath into your arms and legs, lengthen your fingers away from your toes as though somebody's pulling you in a good way, a way that feels good to your body, to your joints, to your spine. Then roll over to your right side, allowing your head to rest on your arm or on the ground. Pause there on your right side with your knees a little bit bent, head heavy. Use your left hand in front of you to help you come up, so you're not hoisting yourself up by your head or your neck. And as you push the ground away and you uncurl from your right side up to sitting, find a comfortable sitting posture for you, so that your spine is tall, you have room for the breath and the lungs. And when you're upright, if you've lost the breath in the transition, bring it back in. And this next time that you inhale, lift your arms up overhead and bring your palms together above your head. And as you exhale, bring your hands down along your center to your heart, acknowledging yourself for being present in your practice, in your body, with your breath. And if you practiced with anyone else, acknowledging them as well. Namaste.